There are a lot of words that could be used to describe Bayonetta, but the phrase I keep finding myself going back to is fucking ridiculous. Before you call the expletive unnecessary, consider the titular lead character, who is even more outrageous in practice than she is in concept, and the idea of a sassy English 10-foot-tall librarian dominatrix bullet witch who basically dances her enemies to death is nuts. There's an intense hypersexuality to Bayonetta that will no doubt prove divisive for some. But weird gender politics aside, ultimately what matters is that Bayonetta is an action game bursting at the seams with enthusiasm. A game that celebrates Japanese game conventions and then pushes them to their breaking point. The action in Bayonetta takes obvious and ample cues from Devil May Cry, primarily using a punch and a kick button with the occasional swirl of the analog stick for more advanced moves. You'll produce a nearly infinite string of consistently outlandish combos, the best of which turn Bayonetta's hairsuit into gigantic fists, feet, or monsters that reduce your enemies to red paste. These moves also temporarily move strategic bits of Bayonetta's outfit, furthering the game's peculiar stripper theme. Your guns are good for range attacks and generally just add to the fun, much like the torturous finishing moves you can perform that manifest Iron Maidens and guillotines for you to punish your foes with. Also key to the experience is Witch Time, which activates automatically when you dodge an enemy's attack at the last possible moment, and momentarily slows everything else in the world to a crawl. Usually Witch Time just serves to give you the advantage in a fight, though you'll occasionally need it to progress past certain obstacles. There are also a few fights that take place entirely in Witch Time, which adds just another layer of slow-motion chaos to the already overwhelming action. Despite how manic the fights can get, Bayonetta is surprisingly approachable, though don't take that as a euphemism for easy. This is a game less about rote combo memorization, which means that it can get a little mashy, but it still demands lots of crackerjack timing. It definitely scolds you for dying, putting a permanent mark on your record that has an adverse effect on your overall score, but it also gives you the tools to avoid it. You'll gain access to additional weapons like a katana and alternate guns as you progress, and you'll also collect halos, which look suspiciously like the kinds of rings Sonic the Hedgehog can't seem to get enough of, that you can spend on new moves and various lollipops that restore health, make you temporarily invincible, or give your attacks more punch. Yep, Bayonetta's health item is a lollipop. Deal with it. The game breaks up the rhythm of group fights and multi-life bar-bearing boss encounters with delightfully nonsensical cutscenes, quick-time events, and big, amped-up homages to Sega arcade classics like Hang-On and Space Harrier. Mostly, though, Bayonetta keeps you on your toes by constantly pushing just how over-the-top everything about it is. You're just as likely to fight a freaky two-headed dragon while half-naked on the side of a church that's spinning through space as you are on terra firma. When that's your standard, it's possible for just about anything to happen, and in Bayonetta, it usually does.
Time to go boom!
Visually, Bayonetta is defined by a constant state of information overload. In the rare moments that the camera's not voyeuristically spinning around Bayonetta's suggestively gyrating figure as she smashes a cherub-faced angel monster, you can actually appreciate the incredible detail on Bayonetta herself, the dizzying complexity of the intricately choreographed dance fight sequences, and the unsettling enemy designs that graft familiar angelic imagery and bits of Renaissance marble onto a menagerie of hideously meaty bird creatures and golems. There's a lot of craft to Bayonetta's whole Rococo steampunk aesthetic, but it's just as impressive that the game performs so well when it's awash in layer upon layer of crazy effects, while all of it moves at just below the speed of light. It can be a transcendental experience if it doesn't give you a splitting headache. Unfortunately, many of the kind words I have for Bayonetta are reserved for the Xbox 360 version, as the PS3 version suffers from crippling performance issues. Load times are bad, but what really kills it is the way the game stutters and chops through the action, dropping frames and bogging down at an almost constant rate. Bayonetta's gameplay, and really even its cinematics, put such a premium on speed and precision that the experience on the PlayStation 3 is thoroughly compromised. For as many different games as Bayonetta specifically recalls, there's really nothing quite like it. It's definitely going to be a divisive game for many, but whether you like it or not, I get the feeling that the developers made exactly the game they wanted to.